Hey folks, welcome back to the Beer Wrench Garage. Today I'm going to do a video on a popular brake upgrade for these new Edge Mustangs. We're going to do the ATS caliper upgrade, which also somewhat necessitates the rear caliper Taurus upgrade. So the ATS/Taurus upgrade for the new Edge Mustang GT, we're going to get that done. What you see behind me is my 2004 Mustang GT. I've never introduced it to the channel as of yet. I've been meaning to for a long time, and this isn't an exact introduction because there's a lot on this car that I want to show you. But for today, we're just going to do the caliper upgrade. So let me show you what I'm talking about with the caliper upgrade. So on the new Edge Mustangs, and of course new Edge being 99 to 04, I actually think this will probably work on the SN95, which is like 94 to 98. On the new Edge Mustangs, for certain, you can go ahead and put Cadillac ATS calipers on it, which is a bigger caliper that essentially bolts in place, but you will need to make it a smooth bolt-in installation, you will need the S&S Engineering adapter kit, which just kind of has these metal adapters that'll allow the caliper to bolt up straight to the knuckle. Going with the larger caliper on the front necessitates a slightly bigger caliper on the rear, and that's why we get the Taurus calipers. These pair of calipers from the Taurus are from a junkyard car that I plucked. And then, interestingly, the Mustang calipers that come for this generation of Mustang on any of the models are 38 millimeter calipers. However, the mid to late 90s Ford Taurus, which this caliper is from, I think this one's from like a 97, have 43 millimeter calipers. And these ATS calipers I got off, I think, Facebook Marketplace. Then we're just going to go with some decent quality Bosch rotors. So the reason that I'm doing this upgrade is two reasons. One, you get more braking power, that's for sure. I drive the car very aggressively, so I want more braking power. But two, the car already has upgraded Cobra calipers on it, like from the 2001 Cobra, but I've blown out the seals on that, and I'm leaking brake fluid from each caliper. So instead of just going through the rigmarole to fix it, we'll go ahead and do an upgrade and kill two birds with one stone, essentially. And don't mind the rust on these rotors. This car has been sitting for a long time. The car has a decent amount of material left, but it does appear that it is leaking from the calipers. Not sure how the lighting's going to look like here. Hopefully it's not terrible, but this is really simple, so I'm not going to belabor the point. There's two bolts that hold the caliper on, and then there's this pin that holds the brake pads in place. All right, so retaining pin comes out. At this point, the caliper should pretty much be able to work itself out. Okay, and I pop the pads out. So one of the main reasons I'm doing this job, other than getting an upgrade for the braking, is you can see that the piston seals have been leaking and the brake fluid has started to wear off the back of this pad. So otherwise the pads are in pretty decent condition. Anyway, with the ATS calipers, we are not going to need or use the Cobra brackets, so we'll just get rid of those. And that will get our bracket off, which will allow us to get our rotor off. All right. Anyway, so we'll set this aside not to ruin it. And then the final thing we want to do is go ahead and separate the brake line. All right, and we'll get that out of the way for now. So let me see about the best way of doing this. I think I'll go get a zip tie. Oh. And yeah, guys, you don't typically want to like put an impact on your brake line bolt, but this one was on there pretty hard, so I needed to break it loose. All right, so that gets our caliper out of the way. Again, I do believe these seals are leaking or busted, so we'll make sure to reseal them before we pass them on for someone else to use. And then if we can get this guy out of the way so it doesn't leak, that'd be a big deal. That'd be a good help for now. All right, over here on our parts table, the S&S kit, the instructions are pretty simple. The only thing really you have to do is you're going to press in these adapters, and these adapters are going to make it so that you can get your caliper to bolt into the knuckle over there. Only issue is you got to press them in, and S&S gives you little lines to line up your markers with. Like they give you little markers to line up your insert with, and then you just use a vise, or if you want to set up a press. I'm not setting up a press. I'm just going to use a vise to press it in. But the other thing you do have to do is drill out the area so the bolt can go in. And as you see, I've already done that here. On this one, I've marked it with tape. So that's just basic Dremel job, not too complicated. I'm not going to belabor the issue here, just kind of show you the technique I'm using. So not spending too much time, but just using basic Dremel tool. So we'll do that for a few minutes and I'll show you the result. This is the back part of the caliper. No one's going to see it. If you get really antsy about like marking it up, you can just tape it off and spray it with some black paint. But again, this is the inside of the caliper, so no one sees it. So I have zero qualms about hitting it with the Dremel. The purpose of that drilling, in case it wasn't like clear before, is to clearance the back half of this, like not bracket, but the body of the caliper, just so this bolt can get in. This one might need a hair more. I mean, it still goes in. Might need a hair more, but that's the point. So these calipers, they don't need the bracket that you just saw me take off earlier. They literally bolt to the knuckle or the hub, whatever you want to call it. And so you use these bolts to secure the caliper to the knuckle / hub. And because of the way the insert is a little bit offset, the hole on the insert is a bit offset, you just got to clearance it a little bit. So now I know it fits perfectly, or it doesn't interfere with the bolt. And that's the purpose of drilling it. At this point, I'm going to blow it off with some compressed air. I'm going to go ahead and finish up my alignment. As you can see, the inserts have like alignment kind of markings. So this one will go outboard like this. And then we'll just press them in with the vise. And then we can test fit them on the car, but pretty much that's it. That's it. And then the back calipers I'll show you, but that's just a bolt-on, bolt-off replacement. All right, so I know that there's people watching that the Dremel scratches are really, really bothering some people. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'll get some air and blow off the metal shavings. We'll make sure that's nice and clean. And then before I press the inserts in all the way, what I'll do is I'm going to tape this off, and we'll hit it with a little bit of this black Rust-Oleum, just so you guys that are cringing at home will not feel as bad. We are going to hit it real quick, like literally really quick. All right, and we'll give that a second to dry, and it won't look so terrible. Once it's dry, we'll go ahead and press in the inserts, and we'll go ahead and be able to test fit the caliper. So for those of you that have had the anxiety over the scratches, I went ahead and hit that with some paint. While we let that dry, we went ahead and pressed in on the other caliper the inserts, and as you can see with the marks, that's how they're supposed to orient themselves. So we'll go ahead and orient it where these two lines where my thumbs are facing away from each other, and then these two vertical lines go straight up where my thumbs are right now. And so there's like a casting line on the caliper where that vertical line kind of falls into. Put that there. Put that there. All right. Sorry, I got it a little bit misaligned. So this line goes that way, this line goes that way, and there's a line goes up, line goes up. So we're going to take this to our vise, and we are going to press it in with the vise. You can also do it with a shop press, which I'm not going to set up just for this. Going to hit it with a little bit of liquid grease or liquid wrench to lubricate that pressing motion, and let's go over to the vise. So I wanted to bring you over to kind of show you this process, because it's kind of interesting, and you'll see the insert go in. Again, it's a press fit, so we're doing it exactly the way we should be. But you'll hear a little bit of groaning and moaning from the insert as it goes in. Well, I heard a lot of groaning and moaning when I did the other side, so who knows. For whatever reason, that went in a lot smoother than the other side, but oh well. All right, let's get this guy done. All right, at least you get some groaning and moaning here on this guy. take it back over the bench, make sure it's aligned. All right, well, as you might be able to see, our alignment is still where it needs to be, and both of the fittings on each caliper are pressed in the right way. So we are now ready to assemble the brakes. All the prep aspect of the calipers is complete. So we'll go ahead and get our nice fresh rotors, or a nice fresh rotor. And this is kind of why I bought new rotors, even though I didn't technically need new rotors. I love that fresh look. And we'll go ahead and insert our spacer that came with the S&S kit, and then sink our rotor in there. Before final assembly, I'll go ahead and put on some anti-seize just as a precaution. These brakes are not going to be sitting that long, like I'll have them on and off and whatnot, but always a good idea to put some anti-seize behind the rotor so it doesn't like fix itself to the hub. And then the caliper will mount to the OEM mounting location. So here's the reason we installed these inserts, so you can just have them bolt up to where the stock caliper bolts up to. In fact, why don't I show you how that looks. So these are the stock mounting points. Not necessary to do that, but S&S says just to make sure to clean it up. There's two bleeders. You want the bleeders facing up, and just slide the caliper into its normal seating position. I gotta say, that doesn't look too bad. We're gonna go ahead and torque everything down to factory torque specs on the caliper, run the brake line back to this caliper, and fasten that up with the bolt that we took off with new washers, of course, and then slide the pads in, and then put the pad hardware in, and that's pretty much it. We'll have to bleed the brakes, of course, after we're done with everything, but really the S&S kit makes it a pretty easy bolt-on kind of affair here, a bolt-on kind of deal. All right, folks, so I had to get some banjo bolts that are for this caliper. The banjo bolts that came off for the Cobra caliper do not fit, so made sure to get the ATS or the Brembo specific banjo bolts. And just like a normal brake job, I'm going to go ahead and grease the bottom, like the sliding area of the pads. And the beauty of these Brembo brakes is the pads just kind of slide in. You don't have to take the caliper off and do any of that crazy, you don't have to do any of that crazy like removal of the caliper, compressing the piston. Well, you would have to compress the pistons if you were replacing used pads, because the pistons would have come back out. You just kind of press them back and forth in here. So much easier to do a pad change. Now, once you get the pads in there, sandwiched in, there's a couple of, I don't know what you want to call them, little holding tubes and a bracket. I'm going to get those and show you how those go. I don't know what you call these. They're not tubes. They're retaining pins and a retaining bracket. Replacement is not, the pad replacement is not the point of this video, but just so y'all are tracking, it's pretty simple job. All right, so as you can see, pads are in there, caliper or rotor spins nice and free. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead, put our banjo bolt and brake line, our steel brake line back on with new washers, and then be ready to bleed. All right, we're going to go ahead and put a couple of brand new washers on their banjo bolt, and then route our steel braided brake line back to its correct location on the caliper with the correct banjo bolt, and should get it nice and snug. Alright, so that's good. Like I said, I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but I can feel the washers compress, and if it's leaking, we'll tighten it down some more, but I think it'll be good. So mechanically, everything's done down here. I'm going to finish up the back end, and then we'll bleed this and hopefully have some good, awesome brakes. So on the rear, it's pretty straightforward to strip down the brake system. It's just a single piston caliper here, but a couple notes. I'm going to go ahead and do the Cobra rotors, and the Cobra rotors then require the Cobra caliper bracket, but the Cobra caliper bracket requires the Cobra backing plate. And so the backing plate you can get from Amazon for $100 a pair. The problem is, not a big problem, but the problem is the axles have to come out for you to be able to do the backing plate. I've done it. I didn't record it because it's not like really a complex job. Just removing the axles on a Mustang is pretty easy, and so didn't really record that. But just a note for this particular car, excuse me, we got 31 spline Moser axles, and there's an upgrade over the stock 28 spline axles. And then I have the Torsen T2R or T4R differential there. That's I think it's the T4R that comes in the what do they call it? The track pack Mustangs of the mid 2000s. It might even come in the current ones, I'm not sure, but it's a phenomenal differential. So that's in there. It's 355 gears. Again, not the point of this video. We'll talk about this car in a future video. All right, we'll go ahead and put the rotor on and use a couple of the lug nuts to hold it in for a minute. Gosh, I love that look of a fresh, clean rotor. All right, so that will secure that on there. We're going to go ahead and put our bracket on. So no big rocket science with this. It's just a different size bracket. So I'm not going to belabor this. All right. So before I put the pads in, I'm going to go ahead and secure that brake line on there. Make sure you get your washer on there. We got a new washer in here. I don't know how well you're seeing this with the light, but new washers. And what I'm talking about is there's a little bit of a angle where it's going to sit in, and you want to get that angle right. I'm going to tighten down this brake line here, and then we'll do the pads after that. Just one quick note, the Cobra pads are different than the Mustang GT pads. Cobra pads are actually skinnier because the rotor on the Cobra is thicker, and so the caliper will not accommodate Mustang GT pads. So if you're doing this job, keep that in mind. All right, we'll get that nice and snug, and then we'll come back with the pads. All right. One other quick note is that each axle had one of these like axle weights, and I was gonna go put it back on just because that's how it came from the factory. I don't know what the real purpose is, but with the Cobra caliper brackets, these will not. The caliper bolts are supposed to go through these. That will not work. So my options were to either cut this, which is a lot of effort for just putting some weird weight back on, or ignore it. And I've decided to ignore it because I've already got a different caliper. a different rotor, a different bracket, and I figure like the pound of weight this is or something, whatever it is not going to make that much of a difference. So I'm not altering it just to put it back on. We'll put it in the piles bin and save it for later. So if you're wondering on what to do with yours, I'm leaving mine off. All right, so we're going to get the pads back on here. We're going to put the parking brake cable back in, and we'll go ahead and bleed the system. And we just routed the parking brake through, got the pads in, and I think we're ready to bleed. So go ahead and do a bleed, like a traditional bleeding in the system. I'll go a little bit longer because we've had everything off and everything open, but mechanically everything is bolted in or bolted up the way it should be. The only thing we got to do is make sure we get fluid in there, and hopefully we'll be good. All right. All right, folks, so that's a pretty nice setup we got going. I did have a couple of hiccups. The first time I bled the brakes, it was fine. It worked just fine. Well, it worked good, but there was a little bit of air still left. And so last night I bled the brakes again a second time, and did a thorough brake job. I started off at the master cylinder just like I did before, both of the nipples at the master cylinder, and then all the way around the wheels. And now the braking is glorious on this car. It is phenomenal, like what you would expect an upgrade from the what it had was the Cobra brakes, the stock Cobra brakes of this vintage, to these 4-piston Brembo. Just phenomenal braking. So if you have a Mustang of this vintage, this is definitely an upgrade. Absolute, like, relatively low cost upgrade. Must do pretty much. But if not, I hope you enjoyed this video. Just a little quick trip through a upgrade on this car. But if you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Leave comments, let me know what you think. Again, if you're a Mustang guy and you have this era Mustang, this is a absolute must kind of upgrade. If you're not a Mustang guy, let me know what you think. This is kind of cool to have the Cadillac Brembos on the Ford Mustang here. And then make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.